Are you an avid hiker looking to save some money and also enjoy the outdoor activity? Well, then in this video I'll be discussing about all of those important places where you can get the gadgets and also for a cost-effective way. Why you need to consider renting of your gear instead of going for a purchase. Stick around till the end of this video because I'll be sharing some of the information on where you can buy this kind of gear, and also a clean and hygiene gear is something that's important to consider. Don't miss out on this essential information so that you can have a good trekking experience and also save money. Hit that subscribe button and let's get started. First is the cost effectiveness. If you're an occasional trekker and you do not hike regularly like how I do, going for a rented gear is the ideal option because you can try out things and you don't have to purchase it. I see so many friends of mine who get inspired by looking at others doing the trekking, but once they do the actual trekking, which is for a week-long trekking in the Himalayas for example, and that's when they feel that it is not for them. This is when they realize that they spend a lot of money in buying a gear and then it is like a one-time activity and you don't have to spend so much. Well, buying Himalayan trekking gear is not a small amount of investment. You end up in buying trekking shoes, backpack and lot many things which will cost at least 5,000 rupees each. Initial investment would be at least 25,000 rupees, and if you buy that and that only for one time use, then it's a total waste. So this is where buying or going for a rent is an ideal option, and try out different things, and if it's something that you love, if hiking is something that is your piece of cake, then go ahead and buy it, or else renting would be an ideal option. The next benefit of going for rented gear is you get a variety of things to buy from. Once you buy something, it will be yours and you cannot have or you cannot go for multiple other things, and you are limited to whatever you have purchased. Whereas if you go for rental, you have n number of brands, n number of varieties. Say for example, even a simple jacket that you buy, there are so many varieties in down jackets. It can be a duck feather, it can be a regular jacket, it can be a waterproof jacket. So there are so many varieties in it. And also there are different brands. It can be from Decathlon, it can be from Northern Face. There are so many brands that are available out there. So always going for a rental option here will be a better option because you have a number of varieties. The third option is the convenience. You don't have to carry your backpack everywhere. All this down jacket, the trekking gear, trekking shoes, all of these will consume a lot of space in your backpack, especially if you're going from one city to another. Going around in the airport will be a tedious task to carry all of these things. And if you can go for a rental space, you just have to order it at the base camp or ask the online store to deliver it over there, which is a very convenient thing to do if you're doing trekking once in a while. Also, when it comes to cost, it will almost cost 1/10 or 1/5 of the actual cost of the product. So you don't have to spend too much of money and instead focus on just enjoying the nature and not worry much about your wallet or the pocket. Next point is to test the gear. Well, it's always a good option to try something before you buy something, right? So you can always go for a rental gear, maybe for a day or for a week. Try out on different varieties of shoes and different kind of backpacks, whichever is ideal for you. It should not be like you spend a lot of money in buying a gear and then you cannot even dispose it off because you have spent so much of money on that. And the next point is travel friendly. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have to carry all of those backpack everywhere, especially if you're doing workation like me. You can check out the video on workation that I did for 45 days where I had to carry some of the things, but I got some of the things for rent because the rental gear wasn't available, which is a disadvantage which I'll be discussing next. So if you are planning to travel from one place to another, do workation in between and stay in a hostel for a few days and then again go on a hike, in which case getting things for rent is an ideal option because when you're doing workation, you will be carrying your laptop and you'll have additional baggage to carry. All that you have to carry is a bit of clothes and not the trekking gear. Well, renting gear is ideal, but then there are always the positive and the negative things for each and everything that you do. So let me also discuss some of the disadvantages that you need to think about before going for rental gear. Well, we usually go for rental items by looking at whatever is available on the website and also the one that you see on website. But the actual product that you get out of this rental gear may not be of that quality and intended quality and condition that you want. You get a used item which may not be up to the mark as what you had expected it to be, right? So the next thing that you need to think about is the availability. So especially during winter season, most of the jackets are fully booked and you may not get the required jacket that you want because of the peak season and the availability. it might already be booked, so you might want to book in advance, and also you might end up in paying much higher cost during peak seasons. The next is the size and fit. Well, will it be of right fit for you is something just like any other online orders that you do. You get that, you try it, and you can send it back. That's how it works in Amazon or Flipkart. But this may not be the case when it comes to ordering rental gear online, especially with the shoes. You don't want to buy a shoe which is of smaller size, and then on the day of trekking you get those shoes and you end up in not trekking or not doing the trek, or you don't want to be in that kind of messy situation where you will not have a shoes on the day of trekking. I would say when it comes to shoes, it's always better to get your own shoes, because you need to wear that shoes in advance and get practiced with that, get seasoned with that, because if you're trying something new on the day of trekking, you might get blisters later on. So always have that one size additional if you're trying to order it online. Next is the time and condition. It may not be an ideal thing for you when you're traveling from one location to another location, especially when you're doing vacation, because these gear may not be delivered at the right time, at the right place that you want it to be. Say for example, if I am traveling somewhere in Sikkim, it may not be delivered as long as the trek organizers are the ones who will be delivering those rental gears for you. Especially if I am ordering it online, they will deliver it to your home address, in which case you end up in carrying all of those things, which may be as good as buying gear, but then you're carrying it everywhere. The ideal thing would be for your trek organizers to get those rental things for you, which is something that I do, because I usually find out trek organizers who will also provide rental gear for me, in which case they will get all of the gear. The next thing is the ownership investment. If you are someone who would hike every year or twice a year and you do that on a regular basis, I have seen many of my friends who trek regularly. In my own case, for example, I've done 8 Himalayan treks till now. You can check the description below where I have a playlist for each of the Himalayan treks that I've done. So if you're someone like me who will be trekking regularly, then I would say get a shoes of your own, get a backpack of your own, because you know that you will be hiking regularly, and whatever investment that you do will be of good use. It's not that you invest one time and then you do not go at all. So you know that you're going to use it regularly, in which case ideal thing is to buy something of your own instead of renting. Hygiene concerns. Well, there are few people who are really worried about hygiene concerns, especially if you're using sleeping bag. So in which case you can still get a sleeping bag for rent and buy a hygiene inner layer on your own, which is something that I do. Especially most of the trekking organizers in India provide hiking gear, hiking tent, and also the hiking sleeping bag. Well, you can go ahead with the sleeping bag that they provide, but I would say the inner liner some of them provide may not be something that I would love to use, because that is something that is of hygiene. The inner liners is something that you can carry on your own, is something that I recommend instead of getting even the liner for rent. And also when you consider sleeping bag for rent, make sure that it is not during monsoon, and also during winters it can be damp or it can be wet. So overall, I would say make it a mix of things. If you just want to try hiking for the first time, then I would say go ahead with the rental, try it out. If hiking is something that you can do, especially week-long treks in the Himalayas, for example, then you can go ahead with the buying of gear. If hiking is something that you can do regularly, then I would suggest you to go ahead and buy some of the gears, like backpack or trekking shoe, for example, is something that you can go ahead and buy. But if there is something that you want to just try, something new you want to try, or action camera which you don't want to invest so much of money in, then you can go ahead with those GoPro head mount, and all of those is something that you can get it for rent. You don't have to spend 50,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees on a camera. You can get it for rent. So whatever works for you, make that choice, because everyone will have their own way of thinking, and this is my piece of advice. If you think that this information was useful, then go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit on that bell icon to get all the latest updates. By the way, check out this Himalayan trek that I have done recently.